Namaskar, a warm welcome to World News, an Indian perspective on All India Radio. This is Nabanita Adhikari and with me is Renuka bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. The headlines. India objects to WHO's methodology of calculating COVID-19 deaths in the country. Mauritius Prime Minister Pravin Kumar Jagannath arrives in Mumbai on 8-day visit to India. India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman to embark on official visit to USA in a short while from now to attend spring meetings of IMF and World Bank. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson to pay 2-day visit to India on 21st of this month to hold in-depth talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi on strategic defence, diplomatic and economic partnership. In South Africa, floods kill more than 400 people and leave thousands homeless in KwaZulu-Natal province. Easter festival marking resurrection of Jesus Christ being celebrated across the globe. In IPL cricket, Sunrisers Hyderabad defeat Punjab Kings by 7 wickets in Navi Mumbai. In another match, Chennai Super Kings set a victory target of 170 runs before Gujarat Titans in Pune. India has objected to the World Health Organization methodology for calculating the COVID-19 death toll. In response to an article titled "India is Stalling the WHO's Effort to Make Global COVID Death Toll Public," published by a US daily, the Union Health Ministry said New Delhi has been in regular and in-depth technical exchange with the WHO on the issue of collecting and making public the COVID-19 death toll in the country. A report.
The Health Ministry said the analysis, while uses mortality figures directly obtained from Tier 1 set of countries, uses a mathematical modelling process for Tier 2 countries, which includes India. The Ministry added that India's basic objection has not been with the result, but rather the methodology adopted for the same. It also said India has shared its concerns with the methodology along with other member states through a series of formal communications, including 6 letters issued to the WHO. During these exchanges, specific queries have been raised by India along with other member states regarding the methodology and use of unofficial sets of data. The ministry elaborated that the concern specifically includes on how the statistical model projects estimates for a country of geographical size and population of India and also fits in with other countries which have smaller population. WHO is yet to share the confidence interval for the present statistical model across various countries. It also said the model gives 2 highly different sets of excess mortality estimates of when using the data from Tier 1 countries and when using unverified data from 18 Indian states. Such wide variation in estimates raises concerns about validity and accuracy of such a modelling exercise. The Health Ministry said while India has remained open to collaborate with WHO as data sets like these will be helpful from the policy-making point of view, the country believes that in-depth clarity on methodology and clear proof of its validity are crucial for policymakers to feel confident about any use of such data. It added that it is very surprising that while the newspaper purportedly could obtain the alleged figures of excess COVID-19 mortality in respect to India, it was unable to learn the estimates for other countries. Reshma Tiwari for World News, All India Radio.
Prime Minister of Mauritius Pravin Kumar Jagannath arrived in Mumbai Sunday morning on an 8-day visit to India. Mr. Jagannath is visiting India at the invitation of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He is accompanied by his wife Kobita Jagannath and a high-level delegation. The visiting dignitary will participate in the groundbreaking ceremony of the WHO Global Centre for Traditional Medicine at Jamnagar on 19th of April and the Global Ayush Investment and Innovation Summit at Gandhinagar in Gujarat on 20th of April, along with the Prime Minister Modi. Apart from our official engagements in Gujarat and New Delhi, the Prime Minister of Mauritius will also visit Varanasi during the visit. Our correspondent reports that high-level visits have been one of the significant aspects of bilateral relations of India and Mauritius. In today's Hotspot section, we bring you a discussion on India-Mauritius ties over the years. In conversation are Ashok Sajanhar, former diplomat, and Manish Anand, journalist.
Prime Minister of Mauritius, Pravin Kumar Jagannath, today arrived in India He will be taking part in a couple of events in Gujarat, which includes groundbreaking ceremony of WHO Global Center for Traditional Medicine in Jamnagar, while he will also take part along with Prime Minister Narendra Modi in a global Ayush Investment and Innovation Summit in Gandhinagar. Mauritius and India have shared history, they have common ancestry, and we have rich cultural heritage. With us, Ambassador Ashok Sajjanhar, we would like to know from you, sir, how do you see the visit of Mauritius Prime Minister, which is for 8 days in the current context?
So you are very right when you say that it is a very important relationship. It's a very critical relationship. It's a strategic partnership between the two countries. And I would rate this visit as being very significant and very important, because over the last 2 years, the international travel has not been taking place. So although there have been visits, for instance, our External Affairs Minister visited Mauritius, visited Port Louis in February of last year. But otherwise, there have not been so many visits between the two countries, because in the past, between India and Mauritius, the exchange of visits at the highest level has been very intense and very active. For instance, just to mention, in 2019, before COVID had struck the world, we had the privilege of receiving the Prime Minister, Mr. Pravind Kumar Jagannath, as one of the few non-BIMSTEC member leaders to participate in the oath-taking ceremony by Prime Minister Modi and his cabinet. And before that, you would also recall that even in 2014, Mauritius was the only non-SAARC country that was invited to participate in the oath-taking ceremony of Prime Minister Modi in 2014. So here, this visit coming for 8 days is very significant, because our relations, our partnership, our cooperation, our collaboration with Mauritius is very multifaceted. It encompasses defense and security cooperation, it encompasses trade, it encompasses health, it encompasses culture, infrastructure development, development partnership, geostrategic considerations and interests. So on many of these aspects, there is a convergence. And this will be an excellent opportunity to pay attention to all these aspects, because in addition to the two events that you have mentioned, Manish, that the Prime Minister would be participating in the groundbreaking ceremony in Jamnagar tomorrow, and also taking part along with Prime Minister Modi in the Global Ayush Investment and Innovation Summit in Gandhinagar. He would also be traveling to Varanasi, and he would also be spending some time there. So it is a very broad-based visit, and I'm confident that it will provide a very strong impetus to our already vibrant and dynamic bilateral partnership.
Ambassador Sajjanhar, we would like to go a little back in the history. When Mahatma Gandhi was traveling from South Africa to India, he had a stopover in Mauritius, and that event still remains etched in the memory of the Mauritian people. Again, in 1968, India was accorded centrality in Mauritius' global affairs, and since then India has been a dependable partner in developmental works in that country. In that context, do you think that the people-to-people cooperation and developmental works have met the expectations of Mauritius?
Manish, when you say that our relations really date back many centuries, and of course the seminal visit of Mahatma Gandhi on his way from South Africa to India when he stopped over in Mauritius in 1901, that has had a very strong impact on the psyche and the consciousness of the people of Mauritius. And that is, I think, one of the factors why Mauritius decided to adopt 12th of March as their National Day, because it was on this day that Mahatma Gandhi had launched the Dandi March, and this also fight for independence is etched very deep in the hearts of the people of Mauritius. So the relations between India and Mauritius, of course, are ancient and historic and based on shared history and common culture. Of course, in modern times, it is only in 1507 that we see accounts of the Portuguese coming to Mauritius and the neighboring islands, although before that we did have Arabs spending some time in these islands. But after the Portuguese, we had the Dutch, then the French, and then the British. And it is the British who brought the Indians here to these islands in 1834. When they came as indentured labor, because this is basically a plantation economy, sugar plantation. So about 500,000 people came from about 1834 till the first decades of the 20th century. And out of that, about 2/3 of them decided to stay back. And today we find that about 68% of the population of Mauritius is of Indian origin. And we have also about 50% of the people profess Hinduism. And this is, I think, the only country in Africa which has such a large number of Hindus and such a large proportion of Indian origin people. So that, of course, gives a lot of energy to our bilateral partnership. And we have brought it in modern times to cover many other areas of economic cooperation, of security cooperation, and of developing infrastructure and expanding our trade ties.
Indeed. In fact, the metro project which has been developed in Mauritius with the support of India is also named after Mahatma Gandhi. That shows the deep relationship between the two countries. Ambassador Sajjan Har, India's cooperation with Mauritius is part of Small Island Developing States Cooperation of India in South-South cooperation in the Indian Ocean. And we have seen that our focus has been on the human developmental aspects, like the kind of projects we have done: renal transplant unit, maritime security, forensic science laboratory, national library and archives, and so on. So we, unlike China, we are not looking for gains from our partnership. Rather, we want to contribute to the development of Mauritius and other small island countries.
No, you're absolutely right. I think Mauritius is a case in point, but since you mentioned about the small island states, you would recall that Prime Minister Modi had traveled to Fiji in November 2014 when he had traveled from India to Myanmar for the first East Asia Summit. From there, he traveled to Australia. And that was the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister to Australia in 28 years. And from there, he traveled to Fiji, which was the first visit by an Indian premier to Fiji in more than 33 years. And there he was able to collect leaders of all the 14 Pacific Island states. And then next year in 2015, he invited all those leaders to come, and he had a summit with them in Jaipur in 2015. So India is very much focused on the interests, needs, and collaboration with the small island states, small countries. And Mauritius is no exception. So although Mauritius is a small country, meaning it's an archipelago, it's a conglomeration of small islands. Mauritius is the largest of them. Total land area would be about 2,040 square kilometers. But its exclusive economic zone is huge, is very vast, to the tune of 2.3 million square kilometers. And then that in terms of the riches and what its assets are in the ocean, they are huge. And of course, it controls large expanse of the sea lines of communication. So India has been collaborating with the Mauritius, like with other countries, on the basis of their needs, on the basis of their requirements, on the basis of their priorities, and not what India might wish to superimpose on them as China does. So China's development model, as you referred to, is very, very different. These projects which it undertakes, whether it is China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, whether it is Hambantota Port, or in Myanmar, or in Malaysia, these are not projects which are economically viable, they are not environmentally sustainable, and even they land the recipient countries, the host countries, in a debt trap. As we have seen in the case of Sri Lanka, one of the big reasons for the fact that it finds itself in such an economic impasse is because of the projects and the entry of China in a big way as far as that country is concerned. But here, as far as Mauritius is concerned, India has been, in a very responsible manner, it has been supporting infrastructure. For instance, in 2016, we extended a grant of US $353 million to Mauritius as a special economic package to execute 5 priority projects which were identified by Mauritius. They wanted these to be executed because they thought they knew that these are of benefit to their people. The Metro Express project that you referred to, which is the most significant in terms of the financial outlays named after Mahatma Gandhi, and an amount of $275 million was expended on that. The Supreme Court building, $30 million. A new ENT hospital, ear, nose, throat hospital, $14 million. And digital tablets to primary school children were given out for $14 million. And the last of this was the social housing project, which was inaugurated in a virtual format by Prime Minister Modi and the Mauritian Prime Minister Pravin Kumar Jagannath in January 2022. In addition, there are a number of hospitals, eye centers, conference centers that India has constructed for the benefit of the people of Mauritius. And there is also, at the same time, there was a launch of construction of a state-of-the-art civil services college. And this will provide a fully equipped and functional facility for the civil servants of Mauritius to undertake various training and skill development programs.
Mr. Ashok Sajjanhar, you have given us in-depth perspective and insight on India's relationship with Mauritius. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you.
This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts. India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will embark on an official visit to USA in a short while from now to attend spring meetings of the International Monetary Fund and World Bank. She will also participate in G20 finance ministers and central bank governors meetings. Mrs. Sitharaman will take part in bilateral meetings with several countries including Indonesia, South Korea, Sri Lanka and South Africa. She will also hold one-on-one meetings with CEOs from the semiconductor, energy and other sectors of priority for the Government of India. Apart from the official meetings with the World Bank, IMF, G20 and Financial Action Task Force, the Finance Minister will also attend an event at the Atlantic Council, a prominent think tank based in Washington, D.C., and will also interact with the faculty and students at Stanford University. During the visit, Mrs. Sitharaman will participate in a high-level panel discussion on money at a crossroad hosted by the Managing Director, International Monetary Fund. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson will pay a 2-day visit to India on the 21st of this month. This will be his maiden visit to India as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Prime Minister Johnson will be accorded a ceremonial welcome at Rashtrapati Bhavan. He will hold bilateral consultations with Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the 22nd of April. Besides official engagements in New Delhi, Mr. Johnson will also visit Gujarat. India and the United Kingdom enjoy a long and historical relationship which was elevated to a comprehensive strategic partnership during the India-UK Virtual Summit last year. The Prime Ministers will review implementation of the Roadmap 2030 and set their vision for further intensifying cooperation across the full spectrum of bilateral ties. They will also exchange views on regional and global issues of mutual interest. Ahead of his India visit, the Prime Minister of United Kingdom said his visit to India will deliver on the things that really matter to the people of both the nations. In a statement on Saturday, Mr. Johnson's office said the British leader would use his trip to India to deepen relations, including in-depth talks with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the two-nation strategic defence, diplomatic and economic partnership. Mr. Johnson's trip will also include a visit to Gujarat on Thursday, where he is expected to announce a major investment in key industries in the United Kingdom and India, as well as a new collaboration on science, health and technology.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be on a 3-day visit to Gujarat beginning on Monday. During his visit, the Prime Minister will inaugurate and lay foundation stone of several development projects. Mr. Modi will visit the Command and Control Centre for Schools in Gandhinagar on Monday. The center collects over 500 crore data sets annually and analyzes them meaningfully using big data analytics, artificial intelligence and machine learning to enhance the overall learning outcomes of students. The center helps track daily online attendance of teachers and students, undertake centralized summative and periodic assessments of learning outcome of students. India's Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Thakur has said that through the central government's Tejas program, 30,000 skilled manpower will be sent to the United Arab Emirates in the coming days. Addressing the gathering after inaugurating the Hunar Haat in Mumbai on Sunday, Mr. Thakur urged artisans and craftsmen to launch their products on OTT platforms, which would help them in sending their products to foreign markets. Mr. Thakur said, the Hunar Haat is giving further impetus to vocal for local. The Minority Affairs Minister Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi said, the Hunar Haat depicts the quintessence of Ek Bharat, Shresht Bharat.
Indian Minister Piyush Goyal said that India's vaccination rate is more than any developed nation and highest in the world. Speaking at the book launch of A Nation to Protect by author Priyam Gandhi Modi in Mumbai, Mr. Goyal said every Indian should take pride in the fact that India stands number one in vaccination rate in the world. The book is an insight of India's fight against COVID. The book gives a full story of how India managed to turn the COVID tide into an opportunity for growth. The author has presented information based on facts, references and hard data. The humanitarian crisis of migrants exodus, efforts in ensuring timely availability of vaccines, domestic manufacturing of mass ventilators, PPE kits and vaccines are some of the salient points featured in the book.
Indian Army Commanders Conference is scheduled to be held in New Delhi from Monday. Army Commanders Conference is an apex-level biannual event which is held in April and October every year. The conference is an institutional platform for conceptual-level deliberations, culminating in making important policy decisions for the Indian Army. During the 5-day conference, the senior leadership of the Indian Army will review the operational situation along the active borders, assess threats in the entire spectrum of conflict, and undertake analysis of capability voids to further focus on capability development and operational preparedness plans. Discussions on aspects relating to infrastructure development in border areas, modernization through indigenization, induction of niche tech and assessment on any impact of the Russia-Ukraine war are also scheduled. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh is expected to interact with the senior commanders and address the conference on 21st of April.
In South Africa, floods have killed more than 400 and caused at least $684.58 million in damage in KwaZulu-Natal province. A senior provincial official said on Sunday that rescue operation is on for the missing. The floods have left thousands homeless, knocked out power and water services and disrupted operations at one of Africa's busiest ports, Durban. Ravi Pillai, a KZN official responsible for economic development, tourism and environmental affairs, said that in addition to just over 400 deaths, about 40 to 50 people were unaccounted for. In a statement on Saturday, President Cyril Ramaphosa's office said he had delayed a working visit to Saudi Arabia to focus on the disaster. Ukraine has asked G7 nations for $50 billion in financial support and is also considering issuing 0% coupon bonds to help it cover a war-linked budget deficit over the next 6 months. Speaking on national television on Sunday, the president's economic advisor Ole Ustensko said these options were being actively discussed.
Easter is being celebrated across the globe on Sunday. It signifies the resurrection of Jesus Christ after his crucifixion and death at Calvary on Good Friday. The resurrection was announced at the stroke of midnight at churches. Special prayers and services were held to mark the occasion. Reports of Easter celebrations poured in different parts of the country and abroad. Special messes are being held at churches to mark the day. India's President Ramnath Kovind, Vice President Venkaiah Naidu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi have greeted the people on the occasion. In IPL cricket, Chennai Super Kings have set a victory target of 170 runs before Gujarat Titans at Maharashtra Cricket Association Stadium in Pune. In reply, Gujarat Titans were 134 for 5 in 7.2 overs when reports last came in. Gujarat had won the toss and opted to field first. In an earlier match on Sunday, Sunrisers Hyderabad defeated Punjab Kings by 7 wickets at D.Y. Patil Stadium in Navi Mumbai. Chasing a target of 152 runs, Sunrisers Hyderabad achieved it in 18.5 overs. Put into bat, Punjab King were all out, scoring 151 runs in the stipulated 20 overs.
Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world, as reported in the foreign press. Let us take a look at the press reports on China. PTI reports China downplayed the report that its scientists have withheld cooperation with their Russian counterparts after the Ukraine crisis, saying the bilateral collaboration in science and technology has been gaining momentum and has immense potential. The Guardian writes, Shanghai reported a record number of symptomatic COVID-19 cases on Saturday, and other areas across China tightened controls as country kept up its dynamic clearance approach. CNBC writes China's military threats against Taiwan will only increase support for the island from the United States and other democracies, the Foreign Ministry said after China conducted drills nearby as U.S. lawmakers visited Taipei. India Today writes Defence Minister Rajnath Singh in a strong message to China that if harmed, India will not spare anyone.
Now let's have a look at the press reports on Balochistan. According to BW News, a U-phone telecommunication tower was blown up in Balochistan's Barkhan region in the early hours of Saturday morning, disrupting the communication services. The Balochistan Post writes that the recent killing of a driver in Nokundi by the Frontier Corps has spurred waves of condemnation and protests in different areas of Balochistan.
Now let's have a look at the press reports on Pakistan. The Pakistan Today reports that Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz leader and son of Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, Hamza Shehbaz, has been elected as new Chief Minister of Punjab with 197 votes on Saturday after police managed to take control of the House amid scuffle between Treasury and opposition benches. The Pakistan Today report says Pakistan People's Party MP and former Prime Minister Raja Parvez Ashraf was elected Speaker of the National Assembly unopposed after no candidate filed nominations on behalf of the PTI until the 12 p.m. deadline on Friday. The Pakistan Today writes that former Prime Minister Imran Khan has warned the people of Pakistan if the Lettergate conspiracy succeeded, no Prime Minister would ever be able to stand up to U.S. diktats. According to ANI report, Taliban authorities on Saturday summoned Pakistan's ambassador in Kabul to protest against alleged military strikes inside Afghanistan by Pakistani forces, which reportedly caused dozens of casualties.
Now let's have a look at the press reports on Nepal. The Rising Nepal writes that the Nepali Congress has ruled out any possibility of forging an electoral alliance with the CPN-UML at the local level, even if there is no electoral alliance among the ruling parties. An article published in the Republica says that Nepal is facing the crisis of rapidly declining foreign exchange reserves.
A quick look at the headlines once again. India objects to WHO's methodology of calculating COVID-19 deaths in the country. Mauritius Prime Minister Pravin Kumar Jagannath arrives in Mumbai on 8-day visit to India. India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman to embark on official visit to USA in a short while from now to attend spring meetings of International Monetary Fund and World Bank. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson to pay 2-day visit to India on 21st of this month to hold in-depth talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi on strategic defence, diplomatic and economic partnership. In South Africa, floods kill more than 400 people and leave thousands homeless in KwaZulu-Natal province. Easter festival marking resurrection of Jesus Christ being celebrated across the globe. In IPL cricket, Sunrisers Hyderabad defeat Punjab Kings by 7 wickets in Navi Mumbai. In another match, Chennai Super Kings set a victory target of 170 runs before Gujarat Titans in Pune. And now, before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favourite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from Mauritius. with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.